Come to previous World Cups, it's come to no surprise that it's always come out with a European or South American winner. However, with the DWR Cup coming to its end as the quarterfinals are upon us, the round of 16 has proved many doubts as South America almost fell. You see, as the 2024 Copa America came about, Colombia, Venezuela, and Argentina were the ones that had brilliant tournaments. With Argentina coming out winners of the 2024 Copa America, while Colombia fell in the final, while Venezuela made it to a brilliant quarter-final with the brilliant Salomon Rondon. However, it came to a shock as Brazil and all the history they have, barely just about scraping out the group stage with big wins against Paraguay but poor performances against Costa Rica, only to lose the first chance they got out of the group, losing to Uruguay. But when it came to the tournament, you can see there was a lot of passion for teams that always wanted to give their all, especially to teams like Nigeria who thought that this could finally be their chance to win on the world's biggest stage. And bringing their players and giving them a chance, for players in their countries that didn't get a chance to play in their league tournaments, was something big for them. And when these run-down stadiums, even though they're still massive in size, for players that haven't played in these sorts of tournaments, that was everything to them, and they always wanted to give their all to it. However, when it came to South American football teams, there was kind of a pain watching these teams play in this tournament. Because as good as they are, and as good as they always perform in their home tournaments and in World Cup tournaments, this year was very depressing to watch. Because with the 6 out of 10 countries in South America getting the clearance to compete in the competition, and still, despite that, 4 teams making it out the group stage, Ecuador and Uruguay, the only teams failing to do so, it was still looking like a very stacked tournament with lots to look forward to. So today we discover how South America's odds fell from 25 to 12.5%. At the end of the day, as the group stage came to a close, teams like Colombia were having brilliant results, beating Argentina 1-0 with goals from their youngsters such as Mena. Big goals like this would ask, why would Colombia not do well in this competition? Surely a quarter-final or semi-final would be reasonable for them. Whereas Venezuela managed to top a group containing England and Italy, beating Italy and drawing against England before having absolute fun against Ghana, putting 7 past them in the competition. As players like Soteldo got a standing ovation as they played. So why wouldn't teams like this do well? Well, that's the question we're asking. Well, at the end, Venezuela ended up getting Luxembourg in the competition, while Colombia got Jamaica. However, seeing these draws, people just laughed and said this should be easy for both of them, and they should be looking for hard quarter-final games where they can give their absolute alls. Whereas Argentina, the team that was favourites to do well in this competition, maybe not win the competition, but do well, quarter-final, probably semi-final, they got Spain. It came to a shock when all the hopes of the country landed on penalties in all 3 games for Argentina, Colombia and Venezuela. And because these countries hadn't practiced, despite brilliant penalties from Lysa McCormick, the young 16-year-old lad, Jamaica just didn't seem to miss. With beautiful hit penalties, middle, right, left. However, despite that, Colombia still kept going. They still had ideas in the pockets and they managed to beat the Jamaican wall. However, big playing players like the 20-year-old in Jusungi Park still managed to keep Jamaica in it until Colombia had that fatal penalty. While it wasn't over at this point, Jamaica had the better penalty takers, the more experienced, the wider range of players, and in the end, Jamaica played better in the game as well. Jamaica won the game, and they went to the quarterfinals. And just like that, one of South America's biggest went out on penalties. However, like I said, they weren't the only ones that fell to penalties, because big playing players like Salomon Rondon fell when it mattered the most. Venezuela. And despite Luxembourg, you might think, yeah, they're not that big of a team. At the end of the day, a penalty's a penalty. And if you've got the composure like most of these Luxembourg players did, then chances are you'll win this game. What a penalty from Luxembourg. Big players that have been there for Venezuela in the whole tournament, missing in big opportunities. While Luxembourg's coolest managed to stay cool in one of the biggest situations, in one of the biggest stadiums as well, by the way, I must say. Luxembourg had it all. And despite big players that scored big goals for them in this tournament, like Yangel Herrera at the age of 26, this tournament, Venezuela could only watch as Luxembourg took the spot in the tournament. Because penalties is penalties. As Luxembourg stunned Venezuela, and the chances went from 4 out of 16 to 2 out of 16. So we see massive upsets in this tournament already, as Venezuela and Colombia fell to inferior teams, you'd say, in Jamaica and Luxembourg, as they kept their tournaments alive. Jamaica especially, who defied the odds and kept North America alive. Come on, the Caribbean. They came to Argentina, they actually dominated the game when they played against Spain. Experience from the 38-year-old Martin Ruben managed to give Argentina a very healthy lead that they could take into half-time at 2-1. And I'll be very, very honest, they dominated Spain for the first half of this game, putting 2 goals in the first half. It didn't take long before some more young stars this time took the show. His name was Gurpagui. A raw, messy goal it was, but they led 3-1. And Argentina were looking like they were increasing the odds of South American victory. And the magical feat wasn't coming from Gurpagui. He was 19 after all. It was coming from the 21-year-old Miranda. And the tiki-taka style of Argentina was impeccable. Miranda's feet as he graced across the midfield was magical. Even though he couldn't create something there as Pepe Reina saved, Miranda was on ice. But unfortunately, yellow cards for him, Ponzio in midfield, and Mascherano right back killed the game for Argentina, and Costa managed to get a quick fire double and get his team back into the game. A free kick early on from Fabregas as well meant that it was going to extra time. However, extra time was pretty dull, with Argentina spending the whole half an hour fouling Spain. But yet, Iniesta and the Spanish players kept going, but unfortunately the energy sacks wore out and it had to go to penalties. With Argentina and Spain even sacrificing their keepers so they could have extra penalty kick takers. But it didn't turn out the way they wanted. The inexperience in goal meant that players like Deulofeu could score easy penalties. Whereas the tactics didn't work for Argentina, as Eric Lamela, who was supposed to come on to score with his penalty technique, missed the penalty. And Torres, even though he was technically a midfielder, had an absolute brilliant performance in goal. And by the time Spain had scored 3 goals, thanks to a third goal from Santi Cazorla, Argentina were on the brink of missing, you lose. Thanks to Lanzini, they were in it for just a bit longer. Until eventually, Spain couldn't end it there because Andres Iniesta, first time he wasn't cool under pressure, let the ball drop. And it was down to Oliver Torres to try and knock Argentina out, which he managed to do brilliantly. He made 2 brilliant saves in the penalty shootout and he sent his team through. And that is how South America fell at the first stage of the knockouts, which meant that Brazil were the only team that stood tall and saved South American football, winning their knockout stage game 5-1 against the China team. securing a quarter-final against Uzbekistan. So we move on to the probability of winning. The three continents that are still yet to win a World Cup are still alive, with Jamaica, South Africa and Uzbekistan keeping them alive. And with 8 countries left and 3 possible teams winning the DWR Cup for the first time in their history, giving them a 37.5% chance of winning, the odds really weren't that bad.